The store was quiet in that strange early evening way when people are tired but still pretending everything is fine. A little girl held her father's hand tightly, her eyes shining as she looked at the shelves like they were full of dreams, waiting to be touched. She stopped in front of a small display, her fingers slowly reaching out, then freezing in the air. She looked up at her father and smiled a soft, hopeful smile. He already knew what she wanted, even before she spoke. He bent down slightly, his voice calm but heavy. "Not today, princess, maybe another time." The girl nodded quickly, pretending she understood, but her eyes dropped to the floor. She had learned early how to hide disappointment. A few steps behind them, a woman stood still. Simple coat, hair tied back, no jewelry, no signs of wealth, just quiet eyes watching everything. She heard the word princess and it hit her like a memory she had buried long ago. The father picked up only the basics: bread, milk, something small for dinner. He counted silently in his head as if numbers could change themselves. The girl stayed close, afraid that asking again might break something fragile. The woman moved slowly through the store, pretending to browse, but her attention never left them. Every step pulled her deeper into a past she never talks about. Cold nights, empty kitchens, promises that never came true. At the counter, the cashier scanned the items. The total appeared and the father hesitated for just a second, just long enough for the girl to notice. She squeezed his hand again, this time tighter. Behind them, the woman stepped closer, close enough to hear the little girl's whisper, "It's okay, Papa, I am not hungry." The words cut through the air. The woman closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them, her decision was already made. She reached into her bag, not in a hurry, not dramatic. The father was still focused on the counter, still trying to make the numbers work. The woman spoke softly to the cashier, quiet enough that no one else would hear. And in that moment, everything in the store was about to change. But neither the father nor the little girl knew it yet. The cashier looked up, confused. For a moment, the woman leaned in closer, her voice steady, calm, certain. "At everything they touched. Today to my bill." The cashier hesitated, then nodded. Her fingers moved quickly over the screen. Items appeared one after another, more than the father remembered placing on the counter. The father noticed the total changing. His heart skipped. He opened his mouth to speak, but the woman stepped back already, turning away. "Sir, you can go ahead," the cashier said gently. "It's already taken care of." The father froze. He looked down at his bag, then at his daughter. Confusion, fear, and pride all crashing together. No, there must be a mistake," he said. The girl looked between them, her eyes wide. The woman paused just for a second. She turned and smiled, not a rich smile, not a proud smile, just a human one. "Sometimes help comes quietly," she said. "Please let it." The father swallowed hard. Years of holding everything alone rose up in his chest. He nodded slowly, afraid his voice might fail him. The girl tugged at his sleeve. "Papa." "Who is she?" The woman knelt slightly, meeting the girl's eyes. "Someone who was once you," she said softly. Before the father could ask anything else, the woman walked toward the exit, her footsteps light, unhurried. The father rushed forward. "Wait, please, I need to thank you. At least tell me your name." She stopped at the door without turning around. "One day you will help someone else the same way. That will be enough." And then she was gone, leaving behind a receipt, a full bag of groceries, and a question that would not let the father sleep that night. As they stepped outside into the cool air, the girl looked up and said, "Papa, do you think angels shop in stores too?" The father did not answer, because far away in the parking lot, the woman sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel, bare eyes filled with tears. She had not allowed herself to cry for 20 years. She stayed there longer than she planned, engine off, hands still shaking. The sound of the store doors opening and closing echoed in her mind. 20 years ago, she was that little girl standing beside a tired parent, learning early that wanting something did not mean getting it. She remembered the smell of old clothes, the sound of bills being counted again and again, the way her mother used to smile and say next time, even when there was never a next time. School mornings without lunch, nights pretending hunger was sleep, dreams that felt dangerous to believe in. People saw her now as powerful, successful, untouchable, but they never saw the years she cleaned offices after midnight, never saw her study under flickering lights, never saw her promise herself that if she ever made it, no child would feel invisible in front of a checkout counter because of money. She started the car and drove. But the little girl's voice followed her. "It's okay, Papa, I am not hungry." Those words had once been hers. Across the city the father sat at a small kitchen table. Groceries spread out like a miracle. The girl carefully placed each item, as if it might disappear. She lined up the food and counted proudly. Look, Papa, we have more than last time. He watched her smile and felt something break and heal at the same time. He went to the window, looking out at the dark street, wondering how close he came to giving up hope. That night the girl fell asleep faster than usual, her stomach full, her arms wrapped around her doll. The father sat beside her bed longer than needed. In another part of the city, the woman stood in a high-rise apartment surrounded by silence. Success had given her everything except company. She poured a glass of water and stared at the city lights for the first time in years. She felt something heavier than loneliness, responsibility. She whispered to the empty room, find them, because deep down she knew the store was not the end. It was only the beginning. The next morning came quietly, no alarms, no rush, just the sound of the city waking up. The father stood in the kitchen staring at the fridge, still half expecting it to be empty. He opened it again slowly, milk, fresh fruit, leftovers wrapped carefully. His chest tightened. The girl walked in, rubbing her eyes. She smiled the moment she saw the food, like it was proof that yesterday really happened. Can we have eggs today? She asked softly. He laughed, a sound that surprised both of them. Yes, princess, we can have eggs across town. The woman sat at a long glass table. People around her waited for instructions. Numbers, plans, contracts filled the room, but her mind was somewhere else. She asked a simple question, find a man and his daughter from a small grocery store last night. No names, no faces, just a feeling. Her team exchanged confused looks, but no one questioned her. When she spoke, people listened. Hours passed, security footage, locations, payment records. Slowly a picture formed. Meanwhile the father went to work. A job that paid little, asked much. His hands moved automatically, but his thoughts stayed with the woman. Her calm voice, her eyes that looked like they understood everything. During lunch break he checked his phone. No messages, no miracles, just routine. At school the girl told her teacher, someone helped us yesterday. Like a storybook hero. The teacher smiled politely, thinking it was imagination. Children often turn kindness into magic. That afternoon the woman stood outside a small apartment building. Simple, worn stairs, faded paint. She did not bring gifts, she did not bring cameras, only herself. She watched from across the street, the girl running down the steps laughing, the father following, pretending to chase her. Something inside the woman softened. This was not charity, this was connection. She waited until evening, until the light inside the apartment turned warm. Then she walked up the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last, not from fear but from memory. She knocked. Inside the father froze. The girl looked up. Curious, he opened the door slowly. It was her. For a second no one spoke. Time held its breath. You, she said gently from the store. The girl gasped, it's the angel. The woman smiled and knelt down. No wings, she said, just someone who remembers. The father stepped aside, unsure. Please come in. The apartment was small but clean, filled with effort and care. The woman looked around respectfully. She sat not as a guest, not as a savior, but as a listener. They talked not about money, not about help. They talked about mornings, about dreams, about how hard it is to stay strong when someone depends on you. The father finally asked, why us? The woman looked at the girl, then back at him. Because someone once helped me when I was invisible. Silence filled the room, but it was not uncomfortable. It was the kind that heals. Outside the city moved fast, but inside that small apartment 3 lives were quietly aligning, and none of them knew that this meeting would change everything, not just for today, but for years to come. The visit did not end quickly. No one checked the time. No one felt the hours pass. The girl brought her favorite doll and placed it carefully on the table, as if the doll also deserved to listen. The woman smiled at that. They spoke about school, about how the girl wanted to become someone who helps others. The woman listened closely, as if every word mattered. When the girl finally fell asleep on the couch, the room grew quieter. Only the soft hum of the city outside remained. The woman stood and walked toward the window, then she turned slowly. I did not come here just to say hello. The father straightened, a familiar fear rising in his chest. People usually came with conditions. She spoke calmly. I am starting something new, a foundation that helps families before they break, before children learn to stop asking. The father listened but said nothing. Hope had taught him to be careful. I want to help you properly, not once, not loudly, but in a way that lasts. He shook his head slightly. I do not want charity. She nodded. I know, that is why I am not offering it. She placed a folder on the table. Inside were papers, simple, clear, a job training, education, support for your daughter, health coverage, rent assistance while you rebuild. His hands trembled. This was not a handout, this was a future. Why me? He asked again, his voice barely holding. Because you did not ask, because you protected her pride even when it cost you, because that is the kind of strength money cannot buy. Tears fell before he could stop them. Years of pressure finally finding a way out. The woman did not move closer. She gave him space, respecting the moment when he Looked up, the girl was awake watching quietly. Papa, she said, is this the good change? He nodded. Yes, princess, this is the good change. The woman stood. Take your time, you do not owe me an answer tonight. She walked to the door, then paused. Promise me one thing, when you are strong again, be someone else's miracle. The door closed softly behind her. That night the father sat awake long after the girl slept, the folder unopened beside him. Not because he was unsure, but because for the first time in years tomorrow felt real. Morning arrived with a different weight. Not heavy, not fearful, just full. The father dressed carefully. The folder finally opened on the table. He read every page slowly, not looking for traps, looking for truth. The words did not promise miracles, they promised work, learning time. He signed. Weeks began to move faster. Training sessions, early mornings, late evenings, hands tired but heart steady. For the first time effort felt like investment. The girl started school with new shoes, not flashy, not perfect, just fitting. She walked taller without knowing why. The woman watched from a distance, never interrupting, never controlling. Support without shadow. She kept her promise. No announcements, no names, no cameras. The foundation quietly grew, one family, then another, stories stacking like bricks. The father learned skills he never thought were meant for him: numbers, systems, planning. Confidence grew slowly like muscle. Some nights he failed, some days he doubted. But every time he looked at his daughter, he remembered why stopping was not an option. The girl began to change too. She started sharing, defending other children, standing up when someone cried. She told her teacher, helping is quiet, it does not need clapping. The woman heard that line later. It stayed with her months past. The small apartment became brighter, not bigger, just lighter. Laughter returned. Meals became routine, routine became safety. One evening the father received his first promotion, nothing dramatic, just a step. But steps add up. He wanted to tell her, the woman, but hesitated. Then one day she visited again, same simple coat, same calm presence. He opened the door smiling, not grateful, proud. They talked as equals, about work, about plans, about how fragile progress still is. The girl hugged the woman tightly. Thank you for seeing us, she said. The woman closed her eyes briefly. Thank you for becoming who you already were. Outside the city kept moving. Inside something steady had formed. And somewhere deep inside all of them, they felt it. The ending was coming, but not the kind that closes, the kind that opens. Years passed without announcement, no headlines, no applause. The girl grew taller. Her questions grew deeper, her kindness stayed the same. The father became someone others turned to, not because he was rich, but because he listened. The woman watched less and trusted more. The foundation no longer needed her hand on every door. It had learned how to walk. One afternoon, a different store, different city, same quiet hour. A little boy stood beside his mother, holding something small, hopeful, afraid. The girl, now a young woman, noticed. She slowed her steps, watched the hesitation, heard the silence. She remembered a voice. Not today, princess, maybe another time. She stepped forward, spoke softly to the cashier. Add it to mine. The mother looked confused. The boy smiled. A small moment, a large change outside the store. The father waited, older, stronger, whole. The woman stood across the street, hair now touched by silver, eyes still the same. They did not wave, they did not speak, they did not need to. The circle had closed and opened. Because help given quietly never really ends. It just learns how to walk from one heart to the next.